Koi food and feeding are probably the most discussed subjects in the koi hobby. This makes sense because it's also what we do every day when we feed our koi. Why are you feeding them? There are different goals for different hobbyists. What do you feed them? How much? How often? There's a lot of questions that need answers. Luckily, there's more and more scientific evidence on all these subjects. I had to split it into 7 videos. This is the first one, where we go into the basics. Welcome to the School of Koi. There's a lot of discussion about koi food and feeding amongst koi hobbyists. Luckily, science helps us out. There's an increasing amount of knowledge available, and I hope to share as much as I can with you to prevent further discussion on these topics. There will always be discussion about food, of course, as it should be also. But some things should not be discussed, the scientific facts. So let's use this knowledge. Join me in exploring everything there is to know about koi food in the next 7 videos. So this first video we will look at the purpose of feeding koi, because that purpose can be different amongst hobbyists. What is koi food and what is not koi food? At times we can feed extra insects. What are those? And we will have a look at the digestive tract of the koi. In part 2 to 7 there's a whole range of subjects that I will be explaining. We're talking about the ingredients in more detail and the breakdown of them, the protein source, what do carp eat in the wild, is there an alternative protein source, shifting to proteins from insects, we're talking about the RAS and what it is. I'll talk about scientific facts that we learned from RAS, the nitrogen budget of a koi, how much should you feed, how often should you feed them, we'll be talking about body weight percentage, pellet size, and what happens in the pond after you feed your koi, and what happens in the koi after you feed your koi. And a lot more fun facts with that. Let's start with part 1. What is your goal when you feed your koi? Well, obviously you want to maintain their health. That is the bare minimum. We also want to maintain their beauty, so color and skin. You want to have them age slowly, not too fast. We're going for long-term health. You want to enjoy your koi for a long time. Some hobbyists actually have extra growth as a goal, and more knowledgeable people in the hobby can even try to improve the skin quality and colors of the koi using food. The last goal is actually to get the maximum achievable from a koi for big prizes on a koi show. And I call this as a separate goal because it actually doesn't always go together with goal 3. Having them ready for a big koi show, for a big prize, is not necessarily good for having them age slowly and having them healthy for a long time. So this is one of the reasons that there is so much discussion amongst hobbyists. You first have to establish what is your goal. What do you want from the koi? Perhaps the optimal growth in the shortest amount of time is not always healthy for your koi. Think about it and discuss it, of course. But realize that the goals can be different before you start discussing. So what is good koi food and what isn't? These color sticks meant for goldfish are not fit for koi. In the long term, the ingredients in these sticks are not sufficient for koi. I took this picture here on the left bottom at a koi hobbyist who needed my help. He fed his koi on these goldfish sticks for about 2 years. As you can see, the koi is too slim and lost its color. Once the koi has lost its red color, it will not come back. This fish is a classic example of malnutrition. So even though these goldfish sticks are cheap, you can buy a lot of it for a few bucks. Don't feed them to koi. Give koi food. So what is koi food? Well, koi food pellets come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Yes, there are differences and different prices. We will go into that in a later video, but at least all these boxes, all these different things that you can buy at a koi dealers will at least keep your koi healthy on the long run. And that is the bare minimum that you should provide to your koi. Whether it's best to give them also the most expensive koi food, that is a different question. We will come back to that later, but not this video. So what's on the back of a bag of koi food? It should at least minimally state how much protein is in there. So what is the protein content? Also for the carbohydrates, the fats and the vitamins. Usually there's also a mentioning of ashes. When you add up these percentages, you want to get to 100%. If it doesn't add up to 100%, be worried about the type of food you buy. Where do these ingredients come from? Well, these come from wheat germ, or krill, or shrimp, fish meal, garlic, astaxanthine, spirulina, bell pepper, carotenoids and probiotics. All these are actually the sources of where these proteins, carbohydrates and fats come from. We will go into the details of all these in the next video. Very important in this video is that you should have and give your koi fresh food. Provide your koi fresh food which is not expired. Koi food that is expired will contain less vitamins, for instance. When you have purchased the koi food, make sure you store it in a dry and dark place. Try to not have it freeze and thaw during storage in a garden house in winter, for instance. Store it in a closed barrel to prevent moisture after opening, because when you get moisture in the koi food, it will start molding. And buy a volume of koi food which you can finish within about 2 months. After you open the bag, air will come in and will start degrading the koi food. So try to finish a bag within 2 months. Besides the koi pellets, you can also buy insects. Insects are given as extras to the koi. They will love it. It's like candy for them. What are they called and what are they? Most simple to explain are gammeres or small shrimp. As the name implies, the small shrimp. Don't mistake them for freshwater fleas or daphnia. And these are also very, very good food, but those are closer to zooplankton. Something else that we give to our koi quite frequently are silkworms. Silkworms are from the silkworm moth. When the adult moth lays eggs, a few days later, small caterpillars come out. They go to form molds until the larvae are big enough to start producing a cocoon and silk thread around the cocoon. When that is finished, the silk is actually harvested by the industry and the cocoons are left as a byproduct. And these are sold and can be used as food for our koi, for instance. Mealworms are also given as a treat for koi often. The mealworms actually come from the mealworm beetle. About 4 to 18 days after the eggs are laid, a young mealworm comes out and starts eating meal, hence the name mealworm. When the full-grown beetle is about 2.5 to 3 centimeters, it is harvested and dried, and then it can be given to our koi. An insect which is not known as much in the koi hobby yet is black soldier fly, but it has a future in the koi hobby as well. The life cycle is quite simple. The adult soldier fly lays about 500 to 900 eggs at a time. When these hatch, the larvae come out and they go to certain stages called instar. About the 4th instar is harvested. These larvae actually like to eat our greens and vegetables, or the remainder of that. So there's a possible future in that. Why am I spending the extra time on the black soldier fly? Well, there's scientists working on the matter. And they do that for a reason. Well, because it might have a big future, also in the koi hobby. The larvae contain about 60 to 70% water. But once they're dried, what is left on the larvae then contains 40 to 44% protein, 20 to 40% fats, 6% chitin and about 5 to 15% ashes. So it's very rich in protein and fats, which is very useful for animal feed. This is data published by several scientists. It's not made up by me. There are factories being set up now that want to produce these black soldier flies on a large scale so they can be used to produce food. But they can also be used in koi food, for instance. This might have a bigger future than I could predict right now. I will come back to that in a later video. So what actually happens when the carp eat? What happens after that? Well, this picture has a lot of complicated terms in it, so forget the text that is surrounding the koi. Know that the koi comes from the European common carp, called Cyprius carpio caprio. And there's a lot of scientific knowledge about that. Most important about this picture is that it's really simple to recognize the dietary tract. So the carp eat and the koi pellets just follow a very simple line from head to tail. The length of the carp gut is about 3 times the body length. So whatever the length of the koi, about 3 times that long is the complete dietary tract. The koi doesn't have a stomach. Although this part of the digestive tract is a little bit thicker, it's not functioning the same as a human stomach would. So there's no reduced pH level. So when the koi eat, the koi pellets follow a very easy path through its digestive system. During this digestion, the koi takes up the ingredients that it needs from the gut into the body of the koi. It can't just take up the large chunks of food, so it needs to be cut in smaller pieces. That is done by enzymes. These enzymes come in contact with the pellets, with the food pellets, and start taking it apart. So these are called amylases, pepsin, lipases and peptidases. In the next video we'll go in a little bit about the function of them. Most important is that they are excreted by the pancreas, saliva, stomach and the gut. Not in a koi, of course, he doesn't have saliva. And he doesn't have a stomach. So the other body parts, like the gallbladder and the liver, they produce and provide the koi's gut with the amylases, lipases and peptidases and maltases. Do you want more explanation about the ingredients of the koi pellets, how they're built up and how they are broken down? Then look at video number 2 in this series. In part 2 to 7 there will be a lot more detail about koi food, how to feed them and what to feed them. If you want to learn more about koi, make sure to subscribe. And don't forget to download the free NVN Koi app with a lot more knowledge in there as well. And see you next time in the School of Koi.